What happens when you grab for the wrong support? Hello, I'm Malcolm Cox and welcome to Quiet Time Coaching episode 44. Thanks for joining me today. And today I want to talk to you about a lesson I learned from my morning prayer walk recently. That particular morning prayer walk was a bit messier than I expected. And it was all caused by a casual grab at the wrong support. Now, in my morning prayer walks, I like to walk through Castlebury Park here in Watford, and I walk to the river and then the canal across, and I go across the Grand Union Canal before coming home. There are various places to cross the canal, but one of the ones I like is not actually a bridge, but further down there's a canal lock gate, and you can cross by walking over the canal lock gate. It's quite narrow, probably only about that wide. But as long as you're careful and there's a handrail along the side, you just hold on to that, you're fine, you're not going to fall off. And so I do that. And the other day I did that. I walked over to the canal lock gate, I climbed up onto the top of it, and I reached out with my right hand to steady myself on what I expected to be a bit of ironmongery right there. And instead of the cold iron, I felt this gooey, gunky feeling in my hand, and I looked round, and what I'd actually got hold of was not the proper handrail, but the ratchet mechanism that takes the sluice gates, opens and closes the sluice gates, letting water in and out lower down in the gate. And this is covered in grease. My hand was covered in black, thick, gooey grease. And they have to be greased because it goes up and down into the water, so it prevents corrosion. I was somewhat distressed by this. It was very messy. I stepped off the canal lock gate, went over to a tree, pulled some leaves off the tree and wiped my hands with it until I got my hand reasonably clean at least, and washed properly when I got home. But it was a strange experience. And I did cross the lock gate, so holding on to the proper handrail instead of the wrong mechanism. But I thought, what am I learning from this? Is there something for me to reflect on here? And I thought, yes, because I'm reaching for the wrong support. I'm not even looking. I'm just instinctively grabbing for something that I think is useful, but in fact proves to be far less than useful, really horrible and gunky and messy. So what did I think about this? What came to me? Well, first of all, we all need support in our lives, spiritual support, but do we go to the right source? So firstly, we sometimes go to a superficial support. Superficial support, not the stuff that really is meant to help us with our spiritual challenges, but superficial support. Too often I have found myself reaching for the television remote, for the podcast, some kind of podcast, for the going to raid the fridge, rather than looking to God to be my support. And all those other things are fine. The television is fine, podcasts are fine, especially mine, of course. And the fridge is fine. God provided everything in our lives for enjoyment. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17. Fantastic, no problem. But these things are not meant to be the primary source for spiritual support. These things are diversionary. In this context, they are distracting temporarily, and they don't deal with the real issue. And of course, if we don't deal with the real issue, what happens? We've pushed it away for a while, but it will come back, and it will come back often with a bit of a bang. Secondly, if I don't deal with something spiritually, but superficially, then not only have I now not solved this particular issue, but there's going to be now another one, because I don't know about you, but I find that spiritual challenges come along quite consistently. And just by procrastinating and putting this one off, I've now got two to deal with, the first one and a new one, instead of having dealt with that one and got the support, and now I'm moving on to the next challenge, and God is with me for that support, and I'm piling up challenges for myself that shouldn't be necessary. So this superficial support doesn't deal with the issue. Have you found yourself recently clutching at other things to be that spiritual support, that emotional support that isn't really helping you to deal with the spiritual challenges you have in your life, in your marriage, in your parenting, in your struggles with sin, in your challenges at work? Are we looking at the superficial rather than spiritual? So secondly, let's talk about spiritual support. Spiritual support, in other words, support that comes from God. Now, we could talk about this all day, but let me just mention a couple of things, just two for today. Where do we get this spiritual support? Firstly, I would say through the church. We need church support. And of course, I don't mean here a building or an organization. I'm talking about the network of relationships that God has given us. Paul mentions this in Ephesians chapter 4. Let me read verse 16. From him, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. You see, we're meant to be interconnected, aren't we? So some of the support we need is from our church network of friends. Some people have been through what we're going through, understand it, have some expertise in the area, or just can be a great friend and a prayer support, but we need that. Are your friendship support ligaments in church strong, or are they weak? If your support ligaments are weak, then your general spiritual support is going to be weaker than it needs to be when you go through these challenges. So we have the church support, but secondly, we also have God's direct support, we could say. And he is a very willing supporter, isn't he? We don't have to push him into it. We don't have to force him into it. He understands us because of what Jesus went through. And we understand that he understands us intellectually. We understand he wants to support us intellectually, but we've got to get it into our hearts, haven't we, as well? And the psalmist said this, when I said my foot is slipping, this is Psalm 94, verses 18 and 19. When I said my foot is slipping, your unfailing love, Lord, supported me. Your unfailing love supported me. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. So there's no substitute for the support of the Lord. It's his love that convinces us that he is with us, supporting us, and with us in the actual situation. It's personal with him. He wants to support us, not because it's a duty or a project, but because we are his dearly beloved. His heart is one of compassion and connection. He wants to connect with us. He's able to grant us not only the fact of the support, but also the feeling of support if we're willing to go there. And what did Jesus say? In Matthew 28, verse 20, I am with you. Not I will be with you, not I was with you, but I am with you. In other words, walking alongside us, through life with us, supporting us every step of the way, if we will let him do so. Why not decide today to pray to be conscious of the support of Jesus, the presence of Jesus, the walking with you of Jesus. Look for that God support today, and look for that church support, whether it's a phone call, a text message, a WhatsApp, a Skype call, an email, or all the other incredible avenues of communication that God has permitted us to have today. Utilize them. Don't isolate yourself. You'll become weaker. Not because you're a stupid person, but because God has designed us to be in communication with each other and therefore supporting one another. That's what it's about. The support from our community and the support from our great God. Jesus walking with us. That's a great thing to be praying about today, isn't it? Why not do that as you feel that need for support? He's with us and we are confident in his love for us. So try that and let me know what happens. If you already have, or if you've got some other ideas about how we can be supported by God and feel supported by God, I would love to know. Please leave a comment below this recording in the box. Leave it publicly so that we can all read it, because we learn best when we learn in community. Pass the link to this on to one other person. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave us a review. I'll be very grateful for that. And I do pray that between now and the next time we see each other, that you would have a wonderful week of fulfilling quiet times, knowing and experiencing the support of our great God. Take care and God bless.